Hello boys and girls, it's been a while, so I thought it's about time I did some proper teaching. And here I am to tell you about the story of the Tolpuddle Martyrs, which took place in 1834, slap bang in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. And you're going to listen to some videos, watch some stuff, read some textbook pages, and I'm going to start off by helping you with some key words that you're going to come across, either written in the textbook or in the videos that you're going to see. Now, the story of the Tolpuddle Martyrs is a bit like a David versus Goliath story, if you've ever heard of that. It's basically weak versus strong, but ultimately the weak ones come out on top. And it's a group of really, really poor labourers, workers, farm workers, who are struggling to survive. And by this I don't mean struggling to have a decent job, I mean literally struggling to get enough food to put on their table for them and their families. And they have no power. Trying to take on a really wealthy landowner, James Frampton, who does have a lot of power and influence. And as you can imagine, it doesn't end well to begin with for the Tolpuddle Martyrs trying to take on this wealthy landowner, but because of various factors, actually they come out kind of on top in the end. And one of the words you're going to come across is trade union. Now, trade unions were something that were growing in the Industrial Revolution, and they still exist today. I'm part of a trade union, most teachers are, and a trade union is supposed to protect a worker's right. If you think in the Industrial Revolution, you've got the factory owners who set the wages, set the rules, set the factory conditions, decide fines, all sorts of things. They hold all the power, and what they say goes. Well, workers like to form a union in case a member of the workforce, a member of the union, is treated unfairly, or a group. So say, for example, there is a worker who is fired for no good reason. The other people in the union are supposed to, in theory, stand up for that individual, because one day it might be them and they'll want the group to stand up on their behalf. So perhaps they will all go on strike, that sort of thing. Well, in the case of the Tolpuddle Martyrs, this group of farm labourers were being paid less and less and less, until they got to the point where they thought they needed to protect themselves and they needed to form a trade union so that they could have some protection and act all together in the face of this unfair treatment. And the problem was the landowner, James Frampton, he found out about this trade union group, which was a secret group at first they were trying to set up, and he wasn't happy about it. As you could imagine, any factory owner or landowner would be unhappy about the forming of a trade union, because it's a threat to them and their power and their ability to say what goes. So the landowner pulled a few strings, so to speak, managed to get the group of Tolpuddle Martyrs arrested, and it went to court and they got punished. Martyr is somebody who's, well, actually usually willing to die for, but in this case not really, willing to die for or suffer for a cause or on behalf of lots of other people. It's a bit like self-sacrifice. And the Tolpuddle Martyrs were named the Tolpuddle Martyrs because they suffered a great deal in going through the trial and the punishment that they did on behalf of lots of other people. And because of what happened in the end, it actually led to a bit of a strengthening of the trade union movement. More and more people felt willing and able to join or to form trade unions because of what happened, because of the suffering of these men from Tolpuddle, which is perhaps why they're called the Tolpuddle Martyrs. Now then, rural. Bit of geography. I spit at that word. I feel terrible and filthy talking about geography, but here goes. Rural is the countryside, basically. You've got urban, you've got rural. Urban is the inner towns and cities. Rural is the countryside. And this whole dispute is between labourers and landowners. The Tolpuddle Martyrs were labourers. Landowners quite self-explanatory. They're the rich people who own massive tracts of land and have lots of people working for them, certainly in this case. Labourers are people who aren't skilled, really, but they do really hard, back-breaking job labouring, like digging the holes and planting the seeds, ploughing the fields, gathering the hay and putting them into hay bales, that sort of thing. It's really hard work, but doesn't pay very well. And the landowners were taking advantage of the labourers by paying them even less. And don't make any mistake, the landowners were very, very wealthy. Now, something you're going to read in the textbook later is about the press gallery. A press gallery is in a courtroom. You have an area for the press to be able to sit and to take notes of what's going on in court proceedings. And the Tolpuddle Martyrs court case was one of the first, not the first, but one of the first court cases where there was a press gallery, because it was such a huge case. The people who were business and landowners were interested in it to see what the outcome was, to see if it was going to be ruled in the favour of the landowners and therefore they get to keep their power. The rest of the country, most people of course, were labourers, factory workers, that sort of thing. They were interested in what would happen to these Tolpuddle Martyrs, who by the way had done nothing. They hadn't been on strike. All they'd done is formed a group together. Perhaps with a view to doing things like striking, but they hadn't done any of that. They'd literally just formed a trade union. They'd formed a group together in desperate times. So the press gallery was there, and this story appeared in newspapers all across the country, which perhaps comes to explain the last bit, which I need to explain. Petition. Protest you probably know, but petition, protest, they kind of come together. Because of the really unfair treatment and the punishment, the harsh punishment that you'll find out about that the Tolpuddle Martyrs were given, and because perhaps it was reported in so many newspapers across the country, it led to a massive outpouring of support for the Tolpuddle Martyrs and a lot of anger as well. So a petition was signed. Now, a petition is like a big list of signatures of people who support whatever the cause is on the petition. In this case, people were signing for the punishment to be reversed for the Tolpuddle Martyrs, for them to be pardoned, and for the Tolpuddle Martyrs to be able to get on with their lives. And 200,000 people approximately signed the petition because they were so angry about what had happened to these men. There was also a huge protest in London, which supposedly had approximately 100,000 people there. Of course, nobody could stand there and count 100,000 people, so that is just a guess, but what we know for sure is there were thousands of people there, all angry and furious about this unfair situation. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to watch a video, well, it's kind of a podcast which is on YouTube with a picture in the background, 9-minute video from BBC Witness Service, and it will tell you all about the Tolpuddle Martyrs. You'll even hear the words of the leader of the Tolpuddle Martyrs, and you will have a Word document in which to answer some questions. When you've finished that, there'll be another video where I will give you a task in the textbook pages to create your representation of the story, to just get things straight in your mind. And the third task you'll do, and I will set all of this out in subsequent videos, will be a short exam question, like an essay-style question, about the Tolpuddle Martyrs and why it happened in the first place and why it ended as it did, just to check your understanding. So there we go. Good luck with it all. If I can work the technology out right, I'll make a little button on YouTube so that the video that follows this is the BBC Witness Tolpuddle Martyrs thing. And I'll try to copy and paste the questions into the description so you've got them there as well. And that's all from me, folks. Thank you very much for listening.